I used to believe that betrayal always comes from strangers. I was wrong. It was a quiet morning when my phone rang. I was sitting at my kitchen table, sunlight spilling through the curtains, thinking about nothing more serious than what I would cook for lunch. "Mom," my son said casually, almost cheerfully, "I'm getting married tomorrow." My heart lifted for half a second. Then he continued, "I withdrew all the money from your bank accounts. And I sold the house." The line went dead. For a long moment, I just stared at my phone. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. Instead, I laughed. A soft, shocked laugh that came from somewhere deep inside my chest. Because my son had no idea what he had just done. My name is Margaret Thornton. I am 62 years old, widowed, and for 37 years, I built my life with patience and discipline. I worked part-time at a local library in Ohio, lived modestly, and saved every extra dollar I could. When my husband died suddenly, Derek was only 12. From that day on, my world revolved around my son. I worked 2 jobs, skipped vacations, wore old clothes, and said no to happiness more times than I can count. I believed sacrifice was love. Derek grew up smart, ambitious, hungry for more. I was proud of him, maybe too proud. 3 months before that phone call, Derek had contacted me with concern in his voice. "Mom, you shouldn't be handling finances alone anymore," he said. "Let me help you set things up online. Automatic payments. Safety." I hesitated. Something in my stomach tightened. But he was my son. I trusted him. 6 weeks later, he came to visit with his fiancée, Brittany. She was young, confident, and observant in a way that felt invasive. Her eyes wandered across my living room, my furniture, my walls, my belongings. "This house must be worth a lot now," she said casually. "It's my home," I replied. Derek laughed it off, but he didn't meet my eyes. Then came the Sunday that broke me. I logged into my bank account, coffee still warm in my hands. My savings, $127,000, gone. My checking account, $53 left. The bank confirmed the transfers were authorized online. Transferred to Derek's account. The next morning, he called again. "You'll be fine on Social Security, Mom," he said lightly. "Oh, and you have 30 days to move out." That was the moment something inside me hardened. Because Derek believed I was powerless. He was about to learn how wrong he was. My son thought he had taken everything from me, but he had just stepped into a trap he didn't even know existed. When the call finally ended, my kitchen felt strangely quiet. No ringing phone. No footsteps. Just the steady ticking of the clock on the wall. Most mothers would have panicked. Most women would have broken down. I didn't. Instead, I sat there and replayed every word Derek had said. The confidence in his voice. The certainty. The way he spoke as if my life were already finished. That was when I realized something terrifying and liberating. My son believed I was weak. He believed age had turned me into someone easy to manipulate. Someone who would cry, beg, and quietly disappear. He was wrong. I stood up, walked to the hallway, and opened the filing cabinet I had maintained for decades. Inside were neatly labeled folders, bank records, property documents, insurance papers, legal correspondence. I had learned long ago that organization was survival. The first file I pulled out was marked Oak Street property. That was the house Derek claimed to have sold. 15 years earlier, I had purchased that small house as a rental investment. It wasn't glamorous, but it generated steady income. I had intentionally kept it in my personal name for tax purposes, never imagining my own son would one day weaponize it against me. The tenants, the Henderson family, had a valid lease with more than a year remaining, which meant Derek had just sold a house he could not legally deliver. Then I opened another folder. Family trust documents. This was the truth Derek didn't know. The house I was living in, the one he thought he had sold, was not legally mine in the way he believed. It was protected under a trust established by my late mother-in-law decades earlier. I was the trustee and beneficiary, but the property was shielded from impulsive decisions, creditors, and exactly this kind of betrayal. Derek had grown up in this house. Yet he never understood it. Because he never bothered to ask. My hands were steady as I continued reading. And then I reached the page that made my stomach turn cold. Power of attorney. I had never signed one. Not willingly. Not knowingly. Not ever. That meant Derek had either forged documents, or manipulated me into signing something while I was vulnerable. And suddenly, everything made sense. The hospital stay last year. The pneumonia. The fever. The exhaustion. Derek visiting with papers, telling me they were insurance updates, and routine forms. I remembered how weak I had felt. How much I trusted him. That trust had cost me everything. For the first time, doubt crept in. Not doubt about what he had done, but doubt about myself. Had I been blind all these years? Had I mistaken entitlement for ambition? Had I raised someone who believed my sacrifices made him owed? The answer hurt. Yes. I sat down at the kitchen table and forced myself to think clearly. Emotion would destroy me now. Logic would save me. I made a list. First, contact the bank's fraud department. Second, consult a lawyer, quietly. Third, protect the tenants. Fourth, document everything. Still, one question haunted me. Did I really want my own son arrested? I closed my eyes and remembered his voice. You'll be fine on Social Security. Not concern. Not guilt. Dismissal. That was the moment my hesitation died. I called the bank. Reported fraud. Requested a full transaction history. Then I called Martin Green, a lawyer I knew from my book club. When he reviewed the documents, his expression darkened. Margaret, he said carefully, this isn't a family misunderstanding. This is elder financial abuse. And it's serious. That night, sleep refused to come. But by morning, my decision was clear. I would not rush into confrontation. I would not warn Derek. I would let him believe he had won. Let him enjoy his wedding. Let him spend stolen money. Let him feel untouchable. Because when the truth finally surfaced, it would hit harder than anger ever could. While my son celebrated his new life, the legal consequences of his betrayal were already closing in, and he had no idea what was coming. The Riverside Country Club looked like something out of a magazine. White roses lined the entrance. Crystal chandeliers glowed softly above polished floors. Everything screamed celebration. And every detail was paid for with my stolen money. I arrived early, dressed in navy blue, calm on the surface. Inside, my chest felt hollow, as if I were watching someone else's life unfold. Derek spotted me immediately. Relief crossed his face as he rushed over and hugged me. "Mom, you came," he said, squeezing tightly. "I knew you wouldn't let this ruin everything." I didn't correct him. Brittany joined us moments later, flawless in her designer gown. She smiled, but there was calculation behind her eyes. I told Derek you'd understand, she said. Family always does. During the ceremony, I sat in the front row, hands folded, watching my son promise loyalty and honesty. The irony tasted bitter. He vowed to protect his wife while having destroyed the woman who gave him life. Applause filled the room. Champagne flowed. Laughter echoed. Then my phone vibrated softly in my purse. Fraud investigation approved. Bank accounts flagged. I slipped the phone back without reacting. Derek was laughing with his friends, completely unaware that the ground beneath him was already cracking. 3 days later, the doorbell rang. Derek stood outside, his face tight with anger. Brittany was beside him, arms crossed, eyes cold. What did you do? Derek snapped, pushing past me into the house. The title company froze the money. The bank is asking questions. I closed the door slowly. I reported theft, I said evenly. Brittany scoffed. You're overreacting. Families handle these things privately. You stole my savings, I replied. And you sold property you didn't own. Derek's voice dropped. You're trying to ruin my life. You ruined your own life the moment you decided I was disposable. That was when Brittany's mask slipped. You're old, she said sharply. You don't even need that money. Everything you have would have gone to Derek anyway. The words hit harder than any slap. So that was it. I wasn't his mother anymore. I was an obstacle. They threatened me that night. Accused me of being unstable. Said they could have me declared incompetent. Put into a care facility. When they finally left, my hands were shaking, not from fear, but from clarity. This wasn't greed anymore. This was cruelty. That night, I slept peacefully for the first time in weeks. Because my decision was made. When my son chose intimidation over remorse, I chose the one thing he never expected, justice. The police report was filed the next morning. Once the legal process started, Derek changed tactics. He called repeatedly. Left voicemails filled with tears and apologies. Then the tone shifted. You're going to regret this, he said during one call. I'm your only child. Brittany tried next. She showed up alone, her voice softer, rehearsed. We want children, she said. Do you really want to put their father in prison? I listened quietly. Then I said, you should have thought of that before stealing from me. That was the last conversation we had as anything resembling family. Friends stepped in. My neighbor Patricia helped me gather records. My lawyer built the case piece by piece. Every document told the same story. Forgery. Fraud. Exploitation. Derek's defense claimed misunderstanding. Confusion. Permission. But facts don't bend for emotions. When the court date arrived, Derek avoided my eyes. Brittany didn't. She stared at me with open hatred. Inside the courtroom, I realized something painful. I wasn't grieving the man Derek was. I was grieving the son I thought I had raised. The courtroom wasn't just about crime, it was about truth finally standing where lies once ruled. The prosecution presented evidence methodically. Bank records showing unauthorized transfers. Forged signatures. Fake notarizations dated during my hospitalization. Experts testified calmly while Derek's story unraveled. When he took the stand, his voice shook. His confidence vanished under cross-examination. Contradictions piled up. The jury watched closely. When I testified, I spoke clearly. I trusted my son, I said. He used that trust to take everything. No theatrics. No rage. Just truth. The verdict came after hours of deliberation. Guilty. On all counts. Derek collapsed into his chair. Brittany sobbed loudly. I felt nothing. No victory. No satisfaction. Only relief. The verdict wasn't the end, it was the moment consequences finally began. Sentencing was swift. The judge spoke firmly. She listed Derek's crimes: fraud, forgery, elder abuse. This was not a mistake, she said. This was entitlement. 7 years in prison. Restitution ordered. As Derek was led away, he looked back at me. For a moment, I almost saw the boy he used to be. Then the doors closed. Brittany filed for divorce within months. The condo was sold. Assets seized. Justice moved slowly, but it moved. Losing my son hurt, but losing my dignity would have destroyed me. Life didn't end after the trial. It began again. I started helping other seniors protect themselves from financial abuse. I traveled. I laughed. I slept peacefully. People asked if I regretted my decision. I don't. Because love without boundaries becomes permission for abuse. My son made his choice. I made mine. And I chose myself.